I married a stranger in Vegas. I know how that sounds. Trust me, I do. But it wasn't supposed to mean anything. It was just a crazy, beautiful, spontaneous moment with a man I'd never see again. Except I did see him again on my first day at my new job. When he walked into the boardroom as the CEO of the billion-dollar company I'd just been hired to work for. Yeah, that happened. Let me start from the beginning. My name is Sophie Bennett, and 3 months ago, my life was perfectly ordinary. I was 28, working as a marketing coordinator at a mid-sized firm in Chicago, living in a tiny apartment with my cat, Mr. Darcy. My biggest excitement was finding a good parking spot and getting my coffee order right. Then my boss sent me to a marketing conference in Las Vegas. "It'll be good for your career," she'd said. "Network. Make connections. Maybe you'll come back with some fresh ideas." What I came back with was a husband. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The conference was exactly as boring as I'd expected. Endless presentations about synergy and paradigm shifts and leveraging core competencies. By the second day, I was ready to fake a sudden illness and fly home. That's when I met him. I was sitting at the hotel bar after a particularly mind-numbing session on social media analytics. I'd ordered a glass of wine and was seriously considering ordering a second when someone slid onto the stool next to me. "Let me guess," a deep voice said. "Marketing conference?" I turned to look at him and forgot how to form words. He was gorgeous. Dark hair that looked like he'd been running his hands through it all day, sharp green eyes that seemed to see right through me, and a smile that made my stomach flip. He was wearing a white button-down with the sleeves rolled up, no tie, looking simultaneously professional and completely relaxed. "How did you know?" I asked when I remembered how to speak. He gestured to my conference badge, which I'd forgotten I was still wearing. "Also, you have that look." "What look?" "I've listened to too many PowerPoint presentations and I'm questioning all my life choices look." I laughed. A real laugh, the first one I'd had in days. "You're here for the conference too?" "Guilty," he said, extending his hand. "I'm James." "Sophie." When our hands touched, I felt that thing they talk about in romance novels. That electric spark, that sense of connection. I'd always thought that was made up. Turns out it's very real. We talked for hours. He was funny and smart and surprisingly easy to talk to. He asked about my work and actually seemed interested in my answers. He told me about his job in corporate strategy, vague enough that I didn't press for details. We complained about the conference, debated the best pizza toppings, and discovered we'd both read the same obscure mystery novel series. "I can't believe you've read the Blackwood Chronicles," I said. "Nobody's ever heard of those." "They're brilliant," he said. "I've been trying to get people to read them for years." "Same. Everyone thinks I'm making them up." He leaned closer, his eyes crinkling with amusement. "Sounds like we're the only two people with good taste." By the time the bartender announced last call, I didn't want the night to end. "Walk with me?" James asked. We wandered out onto the Vegas Strip, and it was like being in a different world. Lights everywhere, music pumping from every casino, people laughing and shouting and living their best lives. "This city is insane," I said. "The best kind of insane," he agreed. Then He stopped walking and turned to face me. Sophie, I know this is crazy, but I feel like I've known you forever. My heart was pounding. I feel the same way. I don't usually do this, he said. I'm normally the guy who plans everything, who thinks things through. But being here with you makes me want to do something spontaneous, something wild. Like what? He grinned, and it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. Marry me. I should have laughed. I should have said he was crazy. I should have walked away. Instead, I said, okay. We found a wedding chapel 3 blocks away. It was called the Chapel of Eternal Love, which should have been our first clue that this was a terrible idea. Are you sure about this? The officiant asked, eyeing us skeptically. He'd clearly seen this scenario before. James looked at me. Are you? I should have said no. I should have blamed the wine or the Vegas atmosphere or temporary insanity. But when I looked at him, all I could think was yes. Yes to adventure. Yes to spontaneity. Yes to this man who made me feel more alive in 4 hours than I'd felt in years. I'm sure, I said. The ceremony was ridiculous and perfect. The officiant was dressed as Elvis. The music was a tinny recording of Can't Help Falling in Love. I didn't have a bouquet and James didn't have a ring. But when he took my hands and said I do, I meant it with my whole heart. We spent our wedding night walking the strip, talking about everything and nothing. He told me about growing up in New York, about his grandmother who'd raised him after his parents died. I told him about my small-town childhood in Ohio, about my dream of one day running my own marketing firm. You will, he said with such certainty that I almost believed him. How do you know? Because you're brilliant and determined. And you don't let anyone tell you what you can't do. You barely know me, I pointed out. I know enough. As the sun started to rise, we stood on a bridge overlooking the strip, and reality began to creep in. So, I said carefully, what happens now is less than Hasson. Zero hash is greater than... James was quiet for a moment. I fly back to New York tomorrow. You fly back to Chicago. And we just... What? Pretend this never happened? He turned to face me, cupping my cheek with his hand. I don't want to pretend this never happened, but I also don't want to complicate your life. We barely know each other, and we live in different cities, and this whole thing is completely insane. It is insane, I agreed. But it's also the best night of my life, he said softly. Mine, too. We kissed as the sun rose over Vegas, and it felt like an ending and a beginning all at once. We exchanged numbers before we left Las Vegas. Promised to stay in touch. Made vague plans about maybe visiting each other sometime. But we both knew the truth. This was a beautiful moment, frozen in time, never to be repeated. I flew back to Chicago and tried to return to my normal life. Tried to forget about the man I'd married on a whim in Vegas. It didn't work. James texted me that night. Just a simple, made it home safely. Missing Vegas already. I stared at my phone for 10 minutes before responding. Me too. We started texting every day. Good morning messages. Funny observations about our days. Late night conversations about everything from philosophy to favorite ice cream flavors. We never talked about the marriage. It hung between us, unspoken, like a secret we were both keeping. 2 weeks after Vegas, I got a call that changed everything. Sophie Bennett? A professional voice asked. Speaking. This is Rachel Chen from Sterling Dynamics. We received your resume through our recruiting system, and we'd like to fly you to New York for an interview. I blinked. I'm sorry, what? For the Director of Marketing position. We're very impressed with your background. I hadn't applied to Sterling Dynamics. I'd never even heard of them. I think there might be a mistake, I started. No mistake. Your resume came through our system last week. Are you interested in the position? Director of Marketing. In New York? Where James lived? It felt like fate. Yes, I heard myself say. I'm very interested. I didn't tell James about the interview. Part of me wondered if he'd somehow arranged it, but that seemed impossible. We'd been married for 2 weeks, texting every day, but I still didn't even know his last name. Which, in hindsight, was probably a red flag. The interview process was intense. 3 rounds over 2 weeks, including a presentation to senior leadership. Sterling Dynamics was apparently a major player in corporate real estate development, though I'd never heard of them before. We prefer to stay out of the spotlight, Rachel explained during my final interview. Our clients value discretion. 2 days later, they offered me the job. The salary was double what I was making in Chicago. The title was everything I'd been working toward. It was the opportunity of a lifetime. There was just one problem. I'd have to tell James I was moving to New York, and I'd have to figure out what we were doing about this whole marriage situation. I called him that night. Sophie! His voice was warm, happy. I was just thinking about you. I have news, I said. Good news? I think so. I got a job offer. In New York. There was a long pause. You're moving here? If I take the job, yes. Another pause. Then quietly, Sophie, there's something I need to tell you. My heart sank. Here it comes, I thought. He's married? Or he's been lying about who he is. Or he doesn't actually want me to move here. What is it? I haven't been completely honest with you, he said, about my job, about my life. Okay. My voice was small. I wanted to tell you in Vegas, but then everything happened so fast, and after, I didn't know how. The longer I waited, the harder it got. James, just tell me. He took a breath. My full name is James Sterling, and I'm the CEO of Sterling Dynamics. The world tilted. You're the CEO, I repeated slowly, of the company that just offered me a job. Yes. Did you? Is less than #0. 5# is greater than I couldn't finish the sentence. I didn't know you'd applied, he said quickly. I swear, Sophie. HR handles all recruiting. I had no idea until yesterday when I saw the finalist list and your name was on it. And you didn't say anything? I wanted to tell you in person. I was going to fly to Chicago this weekend. I sat down on my couch, my head spinning. This is insane. I know. We're married, I said. And I'm about to start working for you. Technically, you'd be working for the company. You'd report to the CMO, not me. That's not the point. I know. I know it's not. He sighed. Sophie, you earned that job. Your presentation was brilliant. The team loved you. This wasn't nepotism or favoritism. You're genuinely the best candidate. But we're married, I said again. We are. His voice was soft. What do you want to do about that? It was the question we'd been avoiding for 2 weeks. I don't know, I admitted. We could get it annulled, he suggested. No one ever has to know. You take the job, we pretend Vegas never happened, and we're just co-workers. The thought made my chest ache. Is that what you want? No. The word was immediate, certain. But I want you to have this opportunity. And I don't want to complicate your life. I closed my eyes. What if I want you to complicate my life? I heard his sharp intake of breath. Sophie. I know it's crazy, I said. I know we barely know each other, but I can't stop thinking about you. And if I'm being honest, part of the reason I want this job is because it means I get to be in the same city as you. I think about you constantly, he confessed. Every morning when I wake up, every night before I sleep. You're the first person I want to talk to about everything. So what do we do? There was a long pause. Then, take the job. Move to New York. But we keep the marriage secret. For now. Until we figure out what this is, what we want it to be. It was probably a terrible idea. But then again, marrying a stranger in Vegas was a terrible idea, and I'd done that too. Okay, I said. Secret marriage it is. If you're already hooked on Sophie and James's story, hit that subscribe button now. We post brand new clean romance story regularly, and trust me, this story is about to get even more dramatic. Let's see what happens on Sophie's first day at work. 2 weeks later, I stood in front of Sterling Dynamics headquarters, trying not to throw up. The building was intimidating. 50 stories of glass and steel in the heart of Manhattan, with the Sterling Dynamics logo gleaming at the top. This was James's company, his empire. And I was his secret wife about to start work here. Nothing about this could possibly go wrong. Rachel Chen met me in the lobby, all professional smiles and crisp blazer. Sophie, welcome to Sterling Dynamics. Let's get you settled. She gave me the tour marketing department on the 23rd floor, conference rooms, break room, my office with an actual door and a view of the city. This is amazing, I said, and I meant it. You've got a meeting with the executive team at 10, Rachel said, checking her tablet. CMO wants to introduce you to everyone, including Mr. Sterling. My stomach flipped. The CEO? He likes to meet all new directors personally. Don't worry, he's actually very nice. She smiled. Not as scary as people think. If only she knew. At 9:55, I walked into the top floor conference room. The view was spectacular, all of Manhattan spread out below us. But I barely noticed because James was standing at the head of the table. He looked different from Vegas. Still devastatingly handsome, but polished in a way I hadn't seen before. Tailored charcoal suit, blue tie, hair perfectly styled. He looked like power personified. Our eyes met, and for just a second, I saw him soften. Saw the man I'd married in Vegas. Then his professional mask slipped back into place. Everyone, this is Sophie Bennett, our new director of marketing, the CMO, Marcus Reynolds, announced. Sophie, meet the team. I shook hands, smiled, made small talk. The whole time, I was hyper aware of James at the end of the table, watching me with those green eyes. Miss Bennett, he said when we finally reached him. His voice was formal, professional. Welcome to Sterling Dynamics. Thank you, Mr. Sterling. I shook his hand, and that electric spark was still there. Still overwhelming. I've heard excellent things about your work, he continued, his grip on my hand lingering just a second too long. I'm looking forward to seeing what you bring to the team. I'll do my best, I managed. The meeting moved on, but I couldn't focus. All I could think about was the man at the head of the table who was legally my husband and professionally my boss's boss. This was going to be complicated. We managed to avoid each other for exactly 3 days. Then James texted me at 8 p.m. on Thursday. My office. Now, we need to talk. The executive floor was empty when I arrived. Everyone had gone home except the CEO, apparently. James's office was massive. Floor-to-ceiling windows, expensive furniture, a view that probably cost more than my entire apartment. He was standing by the window, hands in his pockets, looking out at the city. When I closed the door, he turned to face me. Hi, I said quietly. Hi. He crossed the room in 3 strides and pulled me into his arms. I melted into him, breathing in his familiar scent, feeling the solid warmth of him against me. I've missed you, I whispered. I've missed you too. These past 3 days have been torture. He pulled back to look at me. How's your first week been? Really? Good. Great, actually. The work is challenging and the team is amazing and I love my office. I paused. But it's weird pretending we're strangers. I know. He cupped my face in his hands. Sophie, I need to know something. Are we doing the right thing? Keeping this secret? I don't know, I admitted. What would happen if people found out? He sighed. Best case? Office gossip, some uncomfortable questions. Worst case? Accusations of favoritism, questions about your hiring, potential ethics violations. The board would have opinions. So we keep it secret. For now, he agreed. Then he kissed me, and I forgot about boards and ethics and everything except the way he made me feel. We fell into a pattern. Professional during the day, stolen moments after hours. Late nights in his office, early mornings at my apartment, weekends pretending to run into each other at coffee shops. It was thrilling and exhausting in equal measure. This is insane, I said one night as we lay tangled together on his office couch. We're married, but we're sneaking around like teenagers. I know, he said, running his fingers through my hair. But I can't give you up. Not yet. I don't want you to give me up, I said. I just wish we could be normal. Normal is overrated. He kissed the top of my head. We're doing our own thing. Making our own rules. It sounded good in theory, but I was starting to realize that secrets have a way of coming out. The first close call came 3 weeks into my job. I was in a meeting with Marcus and the senior marketing team when James walked in. Marcus, got a minute? Of course. Marcus stood. Everyone, take 5. The room cleared except for me. I was frantically trying to find a document on my laptop. I didn't realize James was still there until he spoke. Miss Bennett. I looked up, and he was standing right next to me, close enough that I could smell his cologne. Mr. Sterling. I kept my voice professional, but my heart was racing. That presentation you gave yesterday on the rebranding strategy, he said. It was exceptional. Thank you. His hand brushed mine on the table just for a second. Dinner tonight? We could discuss it further. I don't think that's... Sophie, he said, lowering his voice. Just my name, but the way he said it made my knees weak. 8:00, I whispered. My place. He nodded and walked out just as Marcus returned. Everything okay? Marcus asked. Fine, I said, hoping my face wasn't as red as it felt. Just some feedback on the presentation. But my hands were shaking as I packed up my laptop. We were getting careless. And careless was dangerous. The real complication arrived in the form of Victoria Sterling, James's younger sister, and the company's chief operating officer. I'd seen her around the office polished, professional, intimidating in the way only truly confident women can be. She rarely spoke to anyone below the C-suite level, which is why I was surprised when she appeared in my office doorway one afternoon. Sophie Bennett? That's me. I stood, suddenly very aware of my relatively modest office compared to the executive suites. Victoria Sterling. Coo. Do you have a moment? Of course. She sat across from my desk, crossing her legs with practiced elegance. I've been reviewing the marketing department's performance since you came on board. My stomach tightened. Is there a problem? On the contrary, your work has been exceptional. The rebranding campaign exceeded all our projections. She paused. My brother speaks very highly of you. The way she said it made me nervous. That's good to hear. Is it? Victoria tilted her head, studying me. Sophie, I'm going to be direct with you. I've known my brother his entire life, and I've never seen him look at anyone the way he looks at you. My heart stopped. I don't know what you mean. Yes, you do. Her voice wasn't unkind, just matter of fact. Look, I don't care what you two do in your personal time, but this company has rules about workplace relationships, especially between executives and their subordinates. We're not. Sophie. She held up a hand. I'm not here to lecture you. I'm here to warn you. The board is old-fashioned. If they found out about a relationship between you and James, they'd force him to choose the relationship or the company. There's nothing to find out, I said weakly. Victoria stood. Just be careful. Both of you. After she left, I sat at my desk, shaking. We'd been so careful. Or so we thought. If Victoria had noticed, who else had? Are you team keep the secret or team tell everyone? Drop a comment and let me know what you think Sophie should do. And don't forget to like this video if you're enjoying the story. Now let's see what happens when the secret starts to unravel. I told James about Victoria's visit that night. She knows, I said as soon as he arrived at my apartment. Victoria? He set down the takeout he'd brought. What did she say? I repeated the conversation, watching his expression grow more serious. She's right, he said finally. The board would make me choose. Then maybe we should tell them, I suggested, about Vegas, about being married. Get ahead of it. James ran his hands through his hair. Sophie, if we tell them we got married in Vegas 3 months ago and you just happened to get hired here, they'll think it was planned. They'll think I manipulated the hiring process. But you didn't. I know that. You know that. But will they believe it? We stood there, the weight of our situation settling over us like a heavy blanket. What if we got an annulment? I said quietly. Made it like Vegas never happened. Then we could date properly, eventually go public when enough time has passed. Is that what you want? His voice was tight. I want to stop sneaking around. I want to be able to hold your hand in public. I want us to be real. We are real, he said, pulling me close. This is the most real thing in my life. Then why does it feel like we're living a lie? Before he could answer, his phone rang. He looked at the screen and swore. What is it? Emergency board meeting. Tomorrow morning. He looked at me, worry in his eyes. This can't be good. The next morning, I arrived at work to find the office buzzing with whispers. Did you hear about the emergency meeting? My colleague Jennifer cornered me by the coffee machine. What meeting? Board of directors. Apparently, there's some kind of crisis. She lowered her voice. Rumor is it's about Mr. Sterling. My blood ran cold. What about him? No idea. But whatever it is, it's serious. I spent the morning trying to work, but I couldn't focus. At 11, Marcus called me into his office. Sophie, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me. Okay. What is your relationship with James Sterling? The world tilted. I'm sorry? Someone has made an allegation that you and Mr. Sterling are involved in a personal relationship, that your hiring was influenced by that relationship. That's not true, I said automatically, which was technically accurate. We hadn't been in a relationship when I was hired. We'd been married, which was somehow worse. So you're saying there's nothing between you and Mr. Sterling? I hesitated, and that hesitation was damning. Sophie. Marcus's voice was gentle but firm. I need the truth. Before I could answer, there was a knock on the door. Victoria Sterling walked in without waiting for permission. Marcus, I need to speak with Miss Bennett. Alone. Marcus looked between us, then nodded and left. Victoria closed the door and turned to face me. Someone sent an anonymous tip to the board. Photos of you and James together outside work. Emails that suggest a personal relationship. My knees went weak. Photos? You walking into his apartment building. Him leaving yours. Nothing explicit, but enough to raise questions. She paused. Sophie, I warned you. I know. The board is demanding answers. James is in there right now trying to explain. What can I do? Tell me the truth. All of it. Maybe I can help. I looked at her, this woman I barely knew who was offering me a lifeline. And I made a decision. We're married, I said. We got married in Vegas 3 months ago. Before I applied for this job, he didn't know about my application, and I didn't know he was the CEO until after I'd been hired. Victoria's eyes widened. You're what? Married. We've been keeping it secret because we didn't want people to think my hiring was influenced by our relationship. Oh my God. Victoria sat down heavily. This is so much worse than I thought. Can you help us? She looked at me for a long moment. I don't know, but we need to tell the board the truth. All of it. Right now. The boardroom was intimidating. 12 stern faces around a mahogany table all turned toward me as I walked in with Victoria. James was at the head of the table, and when he saw me, relief and terror crossed his face in equal measure. Miss Bennett, the board chairman, Robert Winters, said coldly, "We've been discussing some concerning allegations about your relationship with our CEO." I know, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. And I'm here to tell you the truth. I told them everything. Vegas, the wedding, the job offer I didn't know was from James's company, our decision to keep the marriage secret. I laid it all out, watching their expressions go from skeptical to shocked to, in some cases, almost amused. When I finished, there was a long silence. Let me see if I understand this correctly, Robert said slowly. You married our CEO in Las Vegas after knowing him for 4 hours. You then unknowingly applied to his company, were hired on your own merits, and only discovered you'd married your boss after accepting the position. Yes, sir? And you've been secretly married this entire time? Yes, sir? Another board member, an older woman named Margaret Chen, leaned forward. Do you have proof of this marriage? James slid a folder across the table. Marriage certificate from Clark County, Nevada. Dated 3 weeks before Sophie's job application was submitted to our HR system. The board members passed the document around, examining it. This is highly irregular, Robert said. I'm aware, James replied. But Sophie earned her position here. Her work has been exceptional. Our marriage has nothing to do with her professional qualifications. Perception matters, Mr. Sterling, another board member interjected. Even if the relationship didn't influence her hiring, it looks improper. I understand that, James said, which is why I'm prepared to resign if necessary. My head snapped up. What? No. Sophie, don't. No, I said firmly, turning to the board. I won't let him do that. James Sterling built this company from the ground up. He's brilliant at what he does. I'm the one who should leave. Sophie, James started. I love my job, I continued, but I love him more. And if one of us has to go, it should be me. The room was silent. Margaret spoke first. It seems to me that we have two young people who made an impulsive decision in Las Vegas and are now dealing with the consequences. Unusual, certainly. But I don't see evidence of impropriety in Miss Bennett's hiring. The optics are still problematic, Robert argued. Then we address the optics, Victoria said. Sophie transfers to a different department, one where she doesn't report anywhere in James's direct chain of command. We issue a statement about the marriage, explain the unusual circumstances, and move forward. That could work, Margaret said thoughtfully. The board debated for another 20 minutes while James and I sat in silence, not daring to look at each other. Finally, Robert spoke. Here's what we're going to do. Miss Bennett, you will transfer to our West Coast division. Same title, same salary, but you'll be reporting to a completely different leadership structure. Mr. Sterling, you will recuse yourself from any decisions involving Miss Bennett's career. And both of you will be required to complete ethics training on workplace relationships. West Coast, I echoed. As in California? San Francisco office. It's our second largest location. I looked at James. He looked devastated. I understand, I said quietly. James followed me out of the boardroom. We didn't speak until we were in his office with the door closed. San Francisco, he said. It's okay, I said, even though it wasn't. It's a good solution. I keep my job, you keep yours, and we can still be married and live on opposite sides of the country? His voice was bitter. It's not ideal, but Sophie, I don't want ideal. I want you. Here. With me. You heard them. This is the only way. He crossed to me, taking my hands. No, it's not the only way. James, I meant what I said in there. I'm willing to resign. Let Victoria run the company. She's been wanting more responsibility anyway. You can't give up everything you've built for me. Watch me. His eyes were intense. Sophie, I've spent my entire adult life building this company. And it's been good. It's been successful. But I've never been happy. Not until Vegas. Not until you. My eyes filled with tears. This is crazy. We got married after 4 hours. Crazy is kind of our thing. I laughed through my tears. What would you do if you resigned? I don't know yet. Start something new. Take time off. Travel with my wife. He smiled. Figure out who I am when I'm not CEO James Sterling. And if you regret it, I won't. The only thing I'd regret is letting you move to California and spending the rest of my life wondering what could have been. I looked at him, this man who was willing to give up his empire for me, and I realized something. I didn't want him to. I'm going to San Francisco, I said. His face fell. Sophie. Let me finish. I'm going to San Francisco, and you're staying here as CEO because this company needs you, and you're brilliant at what you do. But we're going to make this work. Long distance, weekends, video calls, whatever it takes. Because I love you, and I'm not giving up on us. I love you too, he said, pulling me into his arms. But Sophie, long distance, Is temporary? I interrupted. We'll figure something out. Maybe in a year or two, after the dust settles, we can revisit. But right now, this is the right thing to do. He kissed me, and it tasted like goodbye and promise all at once. When do you leave? He asked. 2 weeks. Then we have 2 weeks to figure out how to make this work. We're in the home stretch now. If you've made it this far, you're officially invested in Sophie and James's story. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss our weekly romance audiobooks. And now, let's see how this all ends. The 2 weeks flew by. I trained my replacement, packed my apartment, and tried not to think about leaving James. We spent every possible moment together, making memories to sustain us through the distance. The night before I left, he took me to the rooftop of his building. He'd set up a picnic under the stars, just the two of us and the Manhattan skyline. I have something for you, he said, pulling out a small velvet box. My breath caught James. Not what you think, he said with a small smile. He opened it to reveal a simple silver necklace with 2 coordinates engraved on it. What are these? The coordinates of the Chapel of Eternal Love in Vegas, where we got married. So you always remember where we started. I started crying. I love it. I love you. I love you too. And Sophie? Yeah? This isn't forever. We'll find a way back to each other. I promise. San Francisco was beautiful. The work was challenging. My team was great. But I missed James every single day. We talked constantly, video calls, texts, voice messages. He flew out every other weekend. I flew to New York when I could. But it wasn't enough. I was lying in bed one Sunday morning, missing him, when my phone rang. Hey, I answered. Hey yourself, James's voice came through. What are you doing? Missing you. What are you doing? Standing outside your apartment building. I sat up straight. What? Look out your window. I ran to the window and looked down. There he was, standing on the sidewalk in jeans and a t-shirt, looking up at me. I buzzed him up, my heart racing. When he walked through my door, I threw myself into his arms. What are you doing here? You're supposed to be in New York. About that, he said, I have news. Good news or bad news? Depends on how you look at it. He took my hands. I resigned. My jaw dropped. You what? I resigned as CEO. Victoria's taking over. She's thrilled, the board is happy, and I'm free. James, you can't just... I can. And I did. Sophie, I've spent the last 6 months trying to convince myself that long distance was sustainable, that we could make it work indefinitely. But I can't do it anymore. I don't want to be a weekend husband. I want to wake up next to you every morning. I want to come home to you every night. So you're moving to San Francisco? If you'll have me. He smiled. I've already been looking at apartments. And I've been talking to some investors about starting a new venture. Something smaller, more personal. Something that lets me have a life outside of work. You gave up your company for me, I said, still trying to process it. I gave up a job for you. There's a difference. And honestly, Sophie, I'm relieved. I've been living someone else's dream for so long, I forgot to figure out what my own dream was. And what is your dream? You, he said simply. Building a life with you. Maybe starting a family someday. Actually being present instead of constantly working. I kissed him, and it felt like coming home. 3 months later, we stood in our new apartment, not his, not mine, but ours. A beautiful place in Pacific Heights with a view of the bay. James had started a consulting firm helping small businesses with strategic planning. He worked from home most days, had time for hobbies, actually seemed relaxed for the first time since I'd known him. I never thought I'd say this, he said one evening as we cooked dinner together, but I'm happier now than I've ever been. Really? Really? I have you. I have work I enjoy that doesn't consume my entire life. I have time to breathe. He pulled me close. Marrying you in Vegas was the best decision I ever made. Even with all the chaos? Especially with all the chaos. It led us here. I thought about everything we'd been through. The secret marriage, the job complications, the board meeting, the long-distance struggle. All of it had brought us to this moment. I have a question, I said. Shoot! We got married in Vegas. No family, no friends, just us and Elvis. True. What do you think about doing it again? Properly this time. With the people we love. His face lit up. You want to renew our vows? I want to celebrate what we have. Show the world we're proud of it. I think that's a perfect idea. He kissed me. When? How about a year from today? Gives us time to plan something special. Deal. But Sophie? Yeah? This time, let's tell our families before we do it. I laughed. Probably a good idea. 1 year later, the venue was perfect. A garden overlooking the Pacific, flowers everywhere, the sun setting in the distance. Not quite Las Vegas, but beautiful in its own way. Victoria was my maid of honor. My parents sat in the front row, still slightly bewildered by the whole story, but supportive nonetheless. James's friends from New York had flown in. My colleagues from Sterling Dynamics San Francisco office were there. And James was at the altar looking at me like I was the only person in the world. Ready? My father asked as he took my arm. More than ready, I said. As I walked down the aisle, I thought about that night in Vegas. How impulsive it had been. How crazy. How absolutely perfect. We'd done everything wrong, married a stranger, kept it secret, complicated both our careers. But somehow, we'd done it right. When I reached the altar, James took my hands. Hi, wife, he whispered. Hi, husband, I whispered back. This time, the ceremony was no Elvis impersonator. It was our friend Sarah, officially ordained just for this occasion. We'd written our own vows. James went first. Sophie, a year and a half ago, I married you in Las Vegas after knowing you for 4 hours. Everyone said I was crazy. And maybe I was. But it was the sanest thing I've ever done. You've taught me that life is about more than work and success and meeting other people's expectations. It's about finding someone who makes you want to be better, do better, live better. You're that person for me. And I promise to spend the rest of my life being that person for you. I was crying, of course. Then it was my turn. James, when I married you in Vegas, I thought it was a beautiful moment that would end when we left the chapel. I had no idea I was marrying my best friend, my partner, my home. You gave up your empire for me. You moved across the country for me. You showed me that love isn't about grand gestures or perfect timing. It's about choosing each other every single day, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. I choose you today, tomorrow, and for every day we have together. I now pronounce you husband and wife, Sarah said with a huge smile. Again. Everyone laughed. And when James kissed me, it felt like the first time and the 100th time all at once. Later, at the reception, Victoria clinked her glass for a toast. I'll admit, when I first found out about this whole situation, I thought my brother had lost his mind. Married to a stranger? Secret marriage at work? It was a PR nightmare. Everyone laughed. But watching them navigate it all, I realized something. Sometimes the craziest decisions lead to the best outcomes. James is happier than I've ever seen him. Sophie is thriving in her career. And they're ridiculously in love. She raised her glass. To Sophie and James. May your marriage continue to be as unconventional and wonderful as it started. To Sophie and James, everyone echoed. As the sun set and the party continued, James pulled me onto the dance floor. No regrets? He asked. I looked around at our friends and family, at the life we'd built together against all odds. Not a single one, I said. Good. Because I have a confession to make. Oh no? What now? He grinned. I may have had our HR department flag your resume when it came through the system. Made sure it got to the top of the pile. I pulled back to look at him. You what? I didn't influence the hiring decision, he said quickly. You got the job on your own merits. But I may have made sure you got a fair shot at it. Because after Vegas, I couldn't stop thinking about you. And when I saw your name in our system, it felt like fate. I should have been mad. But all I could do was laugh. So this whole time, I was just a guy trying to find his way back to the woman he married in Vegas. I kissed him right there in front of everyone. I love you, you manipulative billionaire, I said. I love you too, my brilliant wife. And as we danced under the stars, I knew that whatever came next, we'd face it together. After all, we'd survived a secret marriage, workplace drama, and long-distance love. We could survive anything. The end. Thank you so much for listening to the CEO's Secret Wife. If you enjoyed Sophie and James's journey, please subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming romance audiobooks posted regularly. Drop a comment and let us know what you thought of the story. Would you marry a stranger in Vegas? Until next time, happy listening!